Yo, what's up guys, welcome back. So TCG Metagame Breakdown for early November, right? We had YCS Pasadena past weekend, huge turnout, plus it got a lot of attention because it was the first, big event, premier event, huge event that Magnificent Mavens was allowed, even though it was really close to the release date, but the thing is that I think a lot of people were looking forward, as in how much of an impact the new Ishizo cards would have on our current TCG format. And let's face it, the format we've had before Magnificent Mavens I think was fantastic. Runic Sprite, I mean, a huge fan of Runic Sprite. I was playing it myself. Again, now even with all the milling, it's just not viable anymore because of the Ishizu cards, right? The Pot of Everest on crack, basically. But again, back to the tournament, and I think again a lot of people were looking forward to the impact of the new Ishizu cards, and we take a look at the breakdown of the top 32 first, and like, look at this. Is this a surprise? Was this a surprise? Let's be honest, I don't think so. I don't think it was a surprise. On day one, we had a lot of feature matches that weren't, well, tier element, right, with the Ishizu stuff. Because of this, right, I think everyone could expect like this from Top Cut and on. Most of the matches would be, and it turned out to be the case, like all Ishizu tier mirror matches. There were a couple of decks that were able to sneak into the top 32 cutoff, and as you see, like 3 Floowandereeze and 3 Sprites. So there is still hope for the rogue player out there, right? Especially if we take a look, or looking forward to YCS Dortmund this weekend for us European players, where again I'm attending as well. And I think, let's be honest, we can probably expect very similar results, if not the same results, or if not better for tier element, that is. So, I mean, if you eventually zoom into the top 8, well, again, this says enough. Only one Sprite player, surprising, only one, well, surprising, not surprising, as in it made it all the way eventually to the top 4, but surprising as in it wasn't all tier elements, because I'm honest, I thought that all the tiers, or at least all of the top 8 would have been tier elements, simply because of the power level and the power creep and, the power of the new Ishizu cards. And as we've seen in like feature matches, I'm sure you already have seen like feature matches on your own. Especially I saw like the top 8, the finals as well, which was one of the best finals I've seen ever in this game's history. Like both Hani and Jesse went all in both, like game 3. Game 3 was disgusting. Like multiple Dweller from Hani's side, and Jesse was still, in the at least in the finals. And it was really close eventually, even though Dweller, and I'm reading online, a lot of people, Dweller should be banned, more of that after the deck list. So I think most people already saw I feel the most important deck list from the tournament being the top 4. Hani's list, he, I guess, wants to make it 40 sharp, consistency above all, and I think as most people, most decks, dropping Agiru to 1, but I already saw Jesse's deck profile. He's maximizing on all the Ishizu cards. Again, as he's mentioning, simply because, Earth, Fairy, and again, you want to keep at least maximizing to either draw or mill them, right? It's basically like that. And there's like a small difference between the bestial package between Hani and Jesse. While Hani prefers triple Magnamut, Jesse prefers triple Druiswurm, his list in a couple of moments. But other than that, any surprises? I don't think so. The thing is that with Darkwing Blast, this particular deck got a boost as well, and I'm looking at Sprint mainly to, it's so easy to go for Dark first, steal your opponent's Magnamut, use the effect, stuff like that. That's so ridiculous, and then Link Summon for Sprint to, send like a Merly from your deck to the graveyard. That's so OP. Oh man, this deck, like from all the years that I've been playing it, looking at the feature matches, it seems so, like, it's super complicated, but it's so overwhelming as well, like as a viewer, but as a player, it's so complicated, no? So Talents was huge, and I'm looking at Super Poly as well. Hani opted to Cytec Super Poly, Droplet obviously for something like Dweller, again like MVP here, especially in the mirror matches. But I mean, if you take a look at Dortmund this weekend, we might see more Droplets main decked, same for Super Poly, simply because Dweller shuts down the mirror, the opponent's tier element deck, right? So we might even see more Super Poly and Droplets in the main deck because of that. So congrats to Hein. I believe it's his second YCS win, but I mean, we've seen last week at the DK tournament as well, where he was it top 4, top 8? I can't remember. He did well. He masters the deck. It's insane, really insane. Wow, second place deck list. Chessy, again, the live profile is already up on YouTube. 42 cards in the main deck. One more Scream, I think, compared to Heine's list, and one less Trap. Suliak, I believe, is only a one-off here for Chessy's list. But other than that, I mean, the field spell is redunculous. It's probably going to get limited eventually by the time when we will get our next list. I have no clue when, but that's the thing. Also, we saw that Hani was, what was it, playing like 1 or 2 Herald? I think so, right? Yeah, 2 Herald, while Chessy wasn't on Herald. So that's intriguing. It's an iffy normal summon, but still opening like access to Baron, for example, or like Elf reborning Herald during your opponent's turn and send Entis from your deck, from your extra deck to the graveyard to pop something from your opponent is strong as well, right? But both of them are on a very similar level of Bystial, so 6 in the main deck. But as I mentioned before, there are some small differences between both of them. The third place deck list, for me the most interesting one. I'm a huge Sprite fan, and I think, but correct me if I'm wrong, this is almost card for card Paulo's list, again from last week as well. But again, I'm mainly looking at the big Bystial package, basically a version of Power Sprite, right? With like the triple True Swarm, triple Magnitude, double the Saronir as well in the main deck, right? To maximizing, I guess, the value, the engine to make sure, or try to make sure that your opponent, the tier element deck, basically cannot fusion summon. But we saw Ash Blossom in the main deck basically against a lot of Rogue, right? Skullmeister as well to hit those graveyards. And again, I'm looking at tier element as a whole. I guess the biggest ace up the sleeve of this deck, I guess, is still the deck has the capability to side deck and Shifter. There is still Draw, right, and potentially Shifter for the OTK. We don't see Gamma Burst, but Cat Shark is there to, push for a potential OTK. And we saw Gamma as well. Hani also side-decked that, and it came in clutch, right, as well. We saw in the finals. And also in other matches. So Sprite is still there, but I mean, as you've seen, like on the right side, the power level, at least the power gap between both these decks, R-Type, is just so huge. What can we do? And then top 4, again, a very similar list to the one we've seen before, but there's one nice deck. I was on this as well with Sprite, and I'm looking at Mass Change 2, right? To potentially turn any Dark into Darklaw. And again, as you know, Darklaw, Macro, Cosmos on Lex, we see that at least how strong the Kashtira cards are currently in the OCG with their Macro Cosmos Exceed. Very similar to Darklaw, right? So top 4, but imagine that Koji would have won, then I don't know about Mass Change, right? But, I guess, again, for Dortmund, next to Super Poly, Forbidden Droplet, we might see more tier 1 player maining Mass Change 2 in the main deck just because of that. So to conclude the video, like, what now? Okay, do we need like an emergency Forbidden and Limited list, right? I think Konami, again, we don't have a date, there's no set date for us TCG players when we could expect our next TCG Forbidden and Limited list, but I could kind of agree with Jeff Jones here, as he mentions on his social media, our Facebook page, that I could definitely see an adjusted list, right, post Dortmund, where we could see like some very powerful cards being hit. I'm looking at Dweller as well, I'm looking at Instant Fusion, those cards are definitely up there, but like, on the other hand, Dweller is needed to keep the other deck, to keep tier in check as well. So it's like, that's a bit iffy. But the second part here, and that's something I could definitely see happening. Same, at least very similar to, what was it, Performances and Pals post YCS Sydney back in 2016, I think. Again, the set dropped, we had that YCS, and I believe Konami immediately axed like the Performances and Pals deck. We didn't get like too much play with the deck here in the TCG. So in all honesty, I could see this happening, the second part. So maybe not limiting, but, well, limiting maybe not all of them, but maybe the better ones, maybe hitting Kelbeck to 1 or something like that, Mudora maybe. I'm honest, I could see that happening, so somewhat slowing down those, I mean, not per se the mills, but I mean, milling is fine, but the thing is that you can mill those crow effects as well, right? And that's just, it makes it so much more broken against a lot of the other decks as well. Looking at Runic Sprite, for example, but there's more. But in all honesty, I could see this one happening. So like an adjusted list, post Dortmund probably with like some small tweaks, semi-limiting, limiting the Ishizu cards or some of them. But let me know what you think. Okay, so at least I'm looking forward to Dortmund this weekend, but I think it's going to be very similar, if not the same. Okay, guys, that's it. Thanks for watching. Feel free to leave a comment or like if you enjoyed the video. Liam signing out. Peace.